Okay, everybody ready? All right, I will call the special meeting of the Federal Way City Council to order for June 19th, 2018. Would you all please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, we have a meeting for the purpose of a study session for the 19 and 20 biennial budget. I'll call on Ariwoola, our finance director, to provide a brief presentation. I just would note that we're in the process of sitting down with all the department directors, and so this is just some parameters broadly to discuss. Ade?
Good evening, Mayor Farrell, Deputy Mayor Honda, Council. This is just to update the Council of where we are as to the 2019-2020 budget process so that the Council can stay on top of things. Of course, we've shared with you the budget calendar of what we would do throughout the year, and that is also posted on the website for the public to have those dates. And the mayor is currently, we've scheduled series of meetings talking to the directors, trying to understand their needs, and we can include that in their proposal. Then the mayor can review their request before putting his budget together. As of now, the next major, at least as it pertains to the council, the next major day is September 4th, where the mayor will present its budget to you, and that is when you start the deliberation and the directors may make their detailed presentation to you and all of that. So, but the real engagement starts September 4th when you have in your hand the mayor's proposed budget. Again, as an update, where we are now, I think based on what Mayor shared with you last time, if the score stick to the current revenue sharing, we hope to have maybe about $486,000 savings. So if that happens, you know, we're talking about we may be about $1 million off budget. You know, keep in mind that $1 million is based on just the preliminary number without gathering information from the directors. So when we put the budget together and the directors submit their request, so, you know, that number may change either way. Also, in addition to that $486,000 that we hope to get from SCORE, if they stay with the current, you know, owner's allocation, if they stick to that, in addition to that is $100,000 from a center stage that if we do not fund them, and also if we are able to rent that place out, I think there'll probably be additional revenue beyond that $100,000. Potential expenditure status also, just to keep in mind, we're negotiating with Guild contract, and we don't know what that will be. Also, we have non-rep. I think, you know, I think our directors are trying to update the mayor and the council constantly as we go through, you know, departure of some of our employees, and the mayor has made it clear that he wants to take a serious look at what we pay our non-rep in order to retain, you know, good employees and be able to be competitive. You know, in order to be able to, again, stay within the budget, also we're looking at expenditure reallocation to say, well, if we're paying this particular item out of general fund, can we properly pay it out of other funds to lessen the pressure on the general fund, we are doing that as well. Then, of course, as I have shared with you in the past, health insurance, I think what they are proposing is a 15% increase. Then, of course, step increase for the current staff based on the current plan. I think the new employees, they move from one step to the other after a certain number of years. That is the practice, and that does not affect the COLA. Salary adjustment, again, as I said, because a lot of our employees are leaving. I think that is another area that the mayor is hoping to be able to take a look at to stop the bleeding, because we have people constantly leaving and we are filling those positions. So this is the summary, also trying to realign, like I mentioned, that we want to see there's a possibility of up to 150,000 that we may be able to shift away from general fund. So, and also, as we go along, I'm expecting that some of our directors will make proposals in terms of fee changes to our fee schedules. So depending on what, whether you approve them or not, that may also help a little bit. We are talking about maybe the some of the permits, some of those that we will bring forth as time goes by. So I put that in there without really putting a number there, but those are also part of what Mayor and your directors are working on to see what we can bring forth and what will be approved. As of now, that is all I have, and I'll be glad to answer your question or explain more.
And again, we're going to be meeting with the directors here real soon, actually starting this week, and working on doing what we've talked about, which is finding efficiencies and finding programs that need a second look, and we'll be I've already started that process, but we'll get much more of a detailed analysis. Council, any questions?
We want to open up for
Yeah.
for citizen comment and then have council.
Well, let's do that. Okay, let's do that. Citizen comment, we get 3 minutes each. Is there any citizen? Dana, please.
Hey, Dana.
Yay. Dana Holloway.
Hi, Dana Holloway. The question I had is on SCORE specifically. I thought at other presentations we were told that, and I think you even mentioned it too, Mayor, that SCORE is trying to change how they do our charges, and we're making now, hoping that they won't, but if they don't, what's going to be the impact to our city?
Great question, Dana, and guess what? We've got the trump card. So, well, maybe I shouldn't use that word. We've got here's the situation. They can't, the formula will have to be part of the budget, okay? If they change the formula, well, first of all, it is our position that the formula for based on our presentation, or based on our jail population, or what we call average daily population, that it is our legal theory that is part of the interlocal agreement when SCORE was originally formed. And that was laid out then. And it's our position that if they want to change the formula, they need to go through the formalized process of amending the interlocal agreement. Now, they've got, and one of their legal counsel has communicated with Ryan, and they've got kind of a policy workaround that, about that somehow or another that would be part of adjustments as you make in a budget, and they've got an argument to make there. The question is whether we would, pursue litigation to cease that from occurring, but that's a separate issue. Assume that the workaround works, that they're able by majority vote to try to change the formula. Here's our ace in the hole, as it were, with regard to this year. The interlocal agreement says that in order to pass the budget, the top two population city, the top two cities that have the most average daily populations have to be both in favor of the budget. And we're number 2, which means that when they, and remember the last time we were here, which means they would need our approval to have this go through the budget, and if they change the formula, it would have to be part of the budget. So we're not in favor of doing so. So that's what I mean by we sort of have an ace card. So that will not occur with my assent, because I've said to them that for the past 2 years, we have suffered essentially almost $1.7 million in one-year setbacks each. You know, 1 million in that last year, and $677,000 this year. It's a huge hit to both those years, $1.7 million. I said, we played by the rules, we played by your rules, and now if we stand to gain 500,000, we're going to get that. So that's really what's at play. My concern had been that when it was before the SCORE executive board, it was actually on a separate item. The calculation and the formula was a separate item, separated from the budget. And at the last board meeting, I objected to that and said, I don't want to have this discussion and vote on this, and even having the pretense of a vote if it's not part of the budget discussion, because I want to make sure they don't try to work around our veto. So that's what happened. And then, so as a result, the board respected my desire, my wishes, and they did not vote on that particular item on the budget. They just said it was for information only. Because I said, why are we voting on this right now if this is actually part of the budget? Why are we going to vote twice on this? And so I sort of felt like I had to play goalie on that one. And the question is, can we count on that 500,000 or 486? I think so. I think we're in great firm footing on that issue. And I think now that we're going to be talking about it tonight, but now that we have secured a contract agreement with, or an agreement with Center Stage, where they will not be the resident company after August 31st. I'll explain that at the regular meeting in about an hour and 15 minutes. Then we can count on that $100,000 as well next year.
Mayor, they will be the
Yeah.
resident company.
I'm sorry, not resident company, right. They won't be they won't manage the Knudsen Family Theater. So, anyway, thank you very much. They will be the resident company. Thank you. It's important to get the verbiage correct. I'll explain all that at the 7 o'clock meeting. Councilmember Copang?
A day, regarding, I wanted to follow up on SCORE as well, and just say, this 486,000 is possible. The variation in that number is going to be based on our daily population, average daily population between now and the end of the year, correct?
Right.
Okay. Okay, and then, and of course, we are not going to make any public safety compromises in order to hold our number down.
No.
No,
Yeah.
I've made sure with our prosecution folks and our police department that we're not doing that.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, I think that's important for the public to understand as well.
Just so that you know, I think in order to have this 486,000, the ship has already sailed, because they based that amount on the previous year ADP.
Okay.
So what we do now will affect
The following year.
2020, right?
Okay.
So whatever it is that we do, like the mayor said, would not affect the safety of our citizens at all.
And Dave, can you explain how the zero-based budgeting is being implemented and what the net effect is on a department level in going through that process?
Part of what will happen is each department, when they meet with the mayor and myself, they will have to justify, explain each and every dollar in each line item. Say, for example, if you have a department with 10 employees, they will have to justify why they need each one of those positions, why that position or each one of those positions are critical, and also justify the reason for any of the supplies, for any of the service agreements, or for any of those things, without necessarily saying, well, I got 10,000 last year, so I need 10,000 again. No, it's why do you need 10,000? What are you going to spend that 10,000 on? Are those areas really critical for us?
Okay.
That is what it's all about.
Then as far as the scope of responsibility that each director has, if they have, or they feel that they are understaffed, how is that going to show up in this process?
Well, I think based on the instruction that we pass on to them, is they need to come forth to justify everything that they're asking for. Yes, of course, the mayor has insisted that he will present a balanced, structurally balanced budget. So I think the catch will be when they make the presentation to the council, for us to be able to differentiate their request and the mayor's proposal, so that you can see the difference. But of course, based on my explanation last time, that the mayor will review their proposals and make his own recommendation from their proposal. In some cases, what the mayor will propose will be different from their request. In some cases, it will be the same.
Thank you, Aday. And by the way, welcome back.
Oh, thank you.
I hope you're well rested.
Yeah.
We'll be putting you to work, aren't we? Okay, all right.
Councilmember Moore and then Councilmember Duclos.
Thank you so much, Mr. Mayor. So I know that in the regular agenda, we're going to be talking about the PAC. I'm kind of curious, and maybe this is appropriate for us to talk about this later, I don't know, but with potential changes in the PAC, how is this going to affect slide number 3?
Actually, I think I do feel that and of course, Ryan will go over that during the regular council meeting. I think that will have an impact on the support from the city. How much, because I do think that they will do a better job than we're able to do. But what I would caution us is, yes, they will do a good job, but when you're starting a brand new business, it takes time for it to take off. So I'm not going to leave you with the impression that, boom, they get started and the money will start rolling in. No, but they will do an excellent job, way better than we can do, and I think it will reduce the city's contribution support, very, very quickly. How much that will be when we're putting the 2019 budget together, I think that will be very evident in there. I think part of their their proposal is, to a great extent, is profit sharing. If they don't believe they can break even, they won't agree to profit sharing, because if there's no profit, they're not making a nickel. And I think based on their size, the way Performing Arts Center works is they bid on some of these performers, and they can move them through their operations. With the size of the operation that they have, it will be easy to rotate these performers within their own businesses, which if we're doing this solo, we only have one Performing Arts Center. So most of these performers will rather sign on to an entity that can actually use them in multiple facilities. So instead of going to New York to bid on these performers for one operation, you have somebody going there that will sign them up for 5, 6. So you're sharing the cost.
Yeah.
You are lowering your cost of operation.
Can you remind me, what is the city's contribution as of right now with the PAC yearly?
Based on the budget that was approved for 2018, I think it was more than $400,000.
All right. Councilmember Duclos.
I just have a quick question. With this process and the savings that you're talking about, how does this impact our budget? And does it have any relevance to the Lake Haven tax?
With Lake Haven, I think because we don't know what, if I understand you correctly, what the impact of Lake Haven will be. Until that goes through the court and is settled.
No, I'm talking about how much money this would bring in. Would that reduce the amount of money that we are charging households for now for the Lake Haven thing? So would we be able to reduce that or eliminate it eventually, especially if we found more resources?
Well, I think we'll have a much better idea as time goes on about how much money they can bring in. can tell you the Angel of the Winds in Everett brings in, quite a bit of money to the city, and that's something we could consider. Our concern is that, as you know, with the undercompensated employees that we have and people doing 2 or 3 jobs, we've got a lot.
No, I
to do.
understand all of that. I'm just trying to figure out if we do this and find some other income resources, could we get out of this fight with this legal hassle that we also have to spend money on with Lake Haven?
Go ahead.
Yeah, I think it's a good question. I mean, it's good for us to have a conversation right now. Is that right, Mr. Mayor?
Of course, yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's a good question that we ought to explore, but I think with the utility tax revenue, potential revenue, depending on what the courts decide to do, I think that, we've been talking about we need new revenue. And I think this, while we need to, study maybe Deanie's question, I would say that I'm a little bit hesitant because I think this is the $950,000 that is needed for us to be able to deliver on what citizens expect from us. So that would be my only comment to add to that.
I just want to go on the record for this. I think it would be great when we get that utility tax. But for the record, I almost guarantee you, even after that, 8 years from now, we will be in the same boat. We will be in the same boat. So counting on just this Lake Haven, we're talking about wanting to borrow money to balance 2018.
No, I know, I'm
So
looking, I'm
there
trying,
needs
I
to
know,
be-
I understand that, Ade, I really do. I'm trying to look at new revenue sources also.
Yes.
And some of us, well, I'm talking about marijuana as one, which would bring in, you estimated 250,000 to 500,000. And I've said all along, we need revenue. We need new revenue coming into this. We are going to be losing revenue when Sound Transit starts coming down and takes out all of those businesses. They are going to give the businesses relocation funds, but there's no guarantee they will relocate in this city. So I'm asking us all to look at different sources of revenue for the city. We can only cut so much from the budget. I have run budgets, believe me, and you can cut yourself short, and then the citizens will get upset because they can't get the services they want, and people will leave and go to other cities, too, if they don't see a future here. So we really need to be looking at different sources.
Thank you, Councilmember. Council, any other questions? Councilmember Tran?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, Ade. This potential saving from SCORE, I know the mayor was mentioned, likely we will get it, but I'm very visual. If we have to put on the scale from 1 to 10, 10 being the most likely that we could get this amount, can you give me 8 or 9 or?
Actually, like the mayor said, we have the ACE card because, like he said, if he doesn't approve, based on the current agreement, if he doesn't approve, they cannot change the method. Yes, it may be challenged. They can say, well, we have the right to do this, but based on our understanding and our city attorney's interpretation, they need the vote of Federal Way in order to change that method. So I think 9 out of 10, I think is very good.
Okay. Can I ask another question?
Of course, yes.
Another question is, during this budget exercise that you and the directors are doing right now, are you factor in the facts that 2 or 3 years from now, there is a very good possibility that another recession will hit? Have you factored in that in your budget exercise?
That will be factored into our revenue projection to see where we are. I think actually more than that will affect our revenue stream. I think even without recession, I do know that a lot of our population are moving to online shopping. And of course, that will have an impact on our sales tax revenue. With also the Sound Transit moving in, that means affecting some of our retail outlets. If those people choose not to relocate within Federal Way, that may have an impact on our revenue stream. But at the same token, that probably will not kick in until tail end of 2020 and 2021. So I think, and since we are only dealing with 2019, 2020 budget, reasonably, I think we're good. Most of the projection in terms of recession, they are thinking about maybe 2020, 2021. Washington State usually lags behind of national trend. So when recession hits, it usually takes Washington State to get caught up in this. So that is one of the advantages that we have. So I foresee with this, even though, yes, I'm singing the song, the recession is coming, but we will be the last group of people that will hit. But yes, it is still coming, and I have my eyes on it.
Thank you.
Tim and I were talking about it yesterday. I've talked to Ade about it as well, so it's on our minds. Council, any other questions? Okay, well, that's what we've got for now. We'll be in recess until the 7 p.m. City Council meeting. Thank you.
What are the you're going to get? Okay.